See what he comes back with here on the 2-2. Oh, perfectly done.
Up to the left side, Alvarius comes over right at the railing. Oh! And makes a great catch! He ended up in the first row! Alvarius ends the game with the defensive jam of the afternoon.
All right, what's going on, guys? K-Zone Podcast, Episode 10. It's been a while, but we're coming back in full force. We got us a crew here. We got Ruck, Andrew Klatt, and we're with the man himself, Mr. Rusty Creasey. We've had one heck of a day shooting some content, and there's some really big things coming down the pipe from Banded, and we did some waiter stuff today, some jacket stuff, and got the man on the camera over here shooting some content for next year.
We had a good, I don't know, what did we spend, 2-3 hours out there, I feel like? Mm-hmm. And we didn't know the weather was going to be like it was, but it's snowing outside right now. But we had a little rain, a little mist, and overcast sky. I thought it turned out really cool for the new Realtree Legacy pattern, and the waders just all around was a cool deal. Had the cab boat out there in the woods, so I thought it was a pretty strong deal.
Yeah.
The lighting was perfect. Cameraman's dream, wasn't it?
Pretty nice. I didn't complain.
Couldn't ask for much better, but it's trade show season. Duck season's over right now, so you're going to start seeing some stuff that's coming down the line with the new camo pattern, new gear, and as far as Rusty goes, he hadn't been on the podcast yet. We've had Andrew and Ruck on couple of them, but we wanted to just come here and bring Rusty on and talk product, talk duck season, just kind of recap the past couple months. And Rusty, we're happy to have you on here.
I'm glad to be here, man. It's been a minute since I've done one of these, so always fun to talk to like-minded folks, good old country folks that share the same passion I do. So
start off talking about your duck season, I guess. I guess from start to finish, I mean, what's your opinion on how the whole season went?
When you take a survey of all duck hunters, I feel really fortunate for what we had. I'd break it down. The first split was slower than normal. You know, I had high hopes of the first split being good because it was a drought and we had water. And I don't know, the ducks were about 10 days behind from what they normally would do. And we shot ducks every day, but it just wasn't what it was supposed to be when you think of the Coca Cola Woods. And it took till the last day of the first split, and then we finally could see it. And, of course, you fed them for 2 weeks when it was out, and then December was really, really good. And we shot them plumb up till the freeze. Then the minute we thawed out, they showed back up. So overall, fortunate, we missed 11 days because of the ice and let them rest. I didn't chase them. I was tired. Ice was 5 inches thick in the woods, so we were shut down. And I had one spot that was open, but I'm not going to lie, I felt sorry for them. It was a hard year to be a duck from day one. Between all these crop fields being worked up, a drought, and then you get into these frigid conditions with no food, no open water, and I mean, it was tough. So once they got back in our rest field, 3 or 4 days before the woods thawed, we just let them set, man, let them fatten up because we had killed went one morning and shot like 4 or 5, and I mean their old breastbones were just sunk in. They didn't have a lick of fat in them. I'm like, man, it's hard to be a mallard duck in Arkansas this year, all the way around, and let them fatten up, and then we ended on a good note. But I'll say this: it was the toughest duck season as far as day in and day out. There was no days that you just were like, it was easy. Every day was a grind. And I don't, early on it was the courtship flight. It was the ducks worrying about a hen instead of worrying about food. And then, you know, fought that all year. You were seeing courtship flights opening week of season, which is unheard of. Normally we don't see that to mid-January?
Yeah.
You know, and you were seeing that, and you know, I talked to people, and they said the drakes were 3-1 versus the hens was one reason. Another reason, it was a real mild year up north, and the molting. They said this is from about a doctor with Delta, and he said the molting process was so easy on the ducks this year. Like they got their new, I guess, their feathers or however all that process works, and they were in really, really good physical shape. So between that, being in good shape, a mild weather year, so they're not having to fatten up and worry about feeding, and then outnumbering the hens like they were. They had one thing on their mind, and it wasn't food, and it wasn't us blowing their duck calls. It was finding them a mate and chasing that hen. And to be politically correct, we all know how men get when they get a hen on their mind.
That's right.
You can't talk to them. You can't tell them what to do. We've all had buddies that get after one, and you're just wasting your time telling him what to do.
It's tunnel vision.
Absolutely. And hey, that's the best.
What you know about that tunnel vision slick?
Yeah. That's the best analogy I got as far as why the ducks acted like they would. They were hard to work, but again, I'm complaining, but it was overall a really good year, all things considered. Very blessed to shoot what we did. What about on y'all's end? Y'all hear the same? Well, we talk at the gas station when we see each other, but
I was going to say, when we saw you, not the morning, we saw you midday, and you were on the phone with the biologist.
That's exactly right.
And we were just talking about how weird the ducks have been. We hunted a couple of times in the timber. We're hunting nice. It's not just a huge hole, but they're landing back in the thick stuff behind us, just acting weird. And we saw you at the gas station. You're like, man, I've been on the phone talking to biologists, talking to Delta waterfowl. I'm curious, is that what you were talking to them about, what you just said?
Absolutely. Why are these November, early December ducks acting like January ducks, late January ducks? And why they were acting like they were. And that's exactly what he said. I went in the split just to take inventory and see what we had in the woods one morning. And I could hear this thrashing behind me as some ducks had come in, and it was two drakes, and they were fighting. I'm talking about I've never seen it, and I'm talking about they were fighting. They were like they were trying to drown each other, and it was a little dusky, but I finally could make it out. I thought it was a drake and a hen doing what they do, but it wasn't. It was two drakes, and they were just fighting.
You posted that on your Instagram.
I did.
Yeah,
I did, and it's just I don't know. It was just everything was just weird this year. A strange year. Drought, no food. I don't know, but we made it through it. And hey, I'm complaining, and I get to make a living chasing a duck, so I'm not complaining too much.
Well, people are always like, you guys don't have it hard, this, that, and the other. But the thing is, you hunt every day, and you get to see it every day, so when they're acting weird.
Absolutely.
You see them at their best, and you see them at their worst.
And hey, a lot of people think we're hunting the different ducks than what everyone else hunts. No. We're all hunting the same ducks. My ducks get call shy. I say my ducks. Private land ducks get call shy just like public land ducks. I don't have to necessarily call against a group of guys set up 150 yards from me. But take 3,000 or 4,000 ducks on the water 200 or 300 yards from you. You can. It all has its challenges, I guess, for lack of a better term. But it's hard to compete against the real thing. It really is. Now, and from a management standpoint, you could move and get right in the middle of them, but then you run your ducks out. So I'll fight them rather than get in the middle of them and run them off. It's definitely a good problem to have, but it does become a problem when they gang up on you. That ain't, and at times maybe on public ground people have that, but I don't feel like you have that as much as you do on private for sure.
100%. We kind of thought. When we saw you at the gas station, we were talking about similar stuff that we've seen, and if it wasn't for a couple good, solid gadwall hunts back in central Arkansas, we'd have been hurting early. We got them good, opening morning?
Yeah, I just felt like it was, like he was saying, just a really weird year. It's like you could do your scouting and all this, but like last year, we hunted more on kind of in this area than over east where we go, and this year was like the exact opposite. Yeah. And it was like some mornings they were flying like that, courtship all paired up. Some days they were working like you would expect, and it was really just like a real hit or miss kind of year. Like you just woke up and you're just like, please let them be here and act like they're supposed to.
Unpredictable. The days when you thought you would burn them were just like, ugh. And then days when you're like, man, I don't know, you'd kill them. I shot them better in clouds and wind than I do on sunshine. And
heck, honestly, we did a couple of days too, right at the end.
Yeah. Which makes no sense. It's especially in the timber, sunshine and some wind, it's supposed to be that's what you want in the timber. But now, shoot, give me rain, give me wind, and go from there.
Mm-hmm.
As far as the conditions go, it was hot early. We had a hard time getting that colder weather down. Mm-hmm. I was talking to Asher, what was it, probably a week or two before. Well, probably a week or two into January. He was up in Montana, not a drop of snow on the ground up there. And so I think we just, as a year as a whole, like we were also opening up here in November, and Kevin still had birds back in Canada.
Yep.
And so I think the birds were just late,
They
super
were
late.
There was a TikTok floating around. A guy posted after Christmas. It was when some guy overseas, some leader or somebody got assassinated, and he was saying that just so you would know that this is not from a different time.
Right.
And he posted, and he shows a field full of Canada geese, and he's way up into Canada. And, you know, from what I understand, those are the first ones to leave. And there was no snow on the ground. I think it was in high 20s or low 30s. They were in just an old barley or whatever kind of field that was, and there was nothing on the ground, but it was just solid geese as far as you could see. So if they're the first ones to leave and they're still up there, well, you know the ducks are up there. So, things out of our control. You know, we need a normal year. I guess the first real push of ducks I saw was Halloween, right around Halloween. And this goes back to public versus private, and I address this some on my page, but like, thank God for the private guys who had a little water, and we caught some ducks and held them in the area, or else that first push around Halloween, they'd have went on south of us. So if any of you public guys listen to this, think about that. You know, I know, hey, we got it good. I'm not complaining, but think about the big picture and how us private guys or private landowners are able to have that early water, hold those early ducks, and kind of what that does, it holds them in the area until the rivers get out, and then they disperse, and then everybody gets them. I feel like that's something that's not really talked about enough.
Right. Yeah, I mean, listen to you put it that way, you're kind of doing everybody a solid.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, like we were talking earlier when we first got here, you've always got those guys that just love to sit online and just hate on people just to hate, or just talk out the side of their neck with like no background information at all until you put it like that, and that makes total sense.
Yeah, the water, and then all right, let's think about the food. You know, I don't blame a farmer for working these fields up at all. Like, that's his livelihood. Mm-hmm. So the more he can get done in the fall while it's dry and he's got good weather, working conditions, the further he is ahead in the spring, it's just less he has to do. But if you're a mallard duck coming down here and you get here and there's just dirt, there's no food left, well, now not only does he not have no water, he doesn't have no food. So we also get criticized for leaving food in the fields or in the woods or wherever it might be for the ducks. Man, what else would they eat?
Yeah,
I'm telling you, we shoot a decent amount of ducks, but the ducks that we winter and help and feed and hold and just take care of far exceed the number we harvest. And again, I think that's something that helps everybody, whether you're a public guy, private guy, or whatever. It helps the area, it helps the state. And, you know, if it wasn't for private landowners that sacrifice and spend money and leave food in the field and pump that early water, it'd have been pretty slim the whole month of November for anybody.
Well, yeah, and for the first month and a half of the season, everybody was complaining about water, or water was like the main issue. And yeah, you put it like that. If you don't have private guys that are doing that kind of stuff, nobody's gonna have ducks to shoot when it's time to go.
Nope. So people just need to think about the big picture a lot of times before they react. You know, in my opinion.
But I know you spend more time south than you do here in Arkansas. Were you? I mean, I know you hear us talking about conditions up here. Were you seeing the same stuff down in Dave's? And
yeah, it was a pretty similar story as far as like the gray sky days, especially end of season, were the most epic hunts down there this year.
Was it because of the camera lighting or the ducks flying?
But 50-50. But like, it froze up down there, and you know, a lot of that's sheet water that we're hunting in fields, so it froze easy. But they've got some small timber areas down there that we got into that don't usually have client hunts at. So it actually turned into a non-typical, really fun end-of-season deal, because where there was water down there, it was probably the most epic end-of-season I've ever experienced. So, yeah, it was great camera light, and just it looked like mosquitoes just blacking out the sky with birds. And we had a lot of bigger ducks down there, and a lot of times it's, you know, smaller mixed bag. So it was cool to see a bunch of green.
And we had 3 or 4 inches of ice
Yeah.
It's wide.
Well, I was going to
Yeah.
say, were you down there whenever we had that Arctic blast kind of come through?
Oh yeah. So we've got like at Dave's Bayou, they've got the Hydrotrek like army tanks.
Yeah.
So we were taking those across ice to where it was literally just skating across ice because it was so thick, and then it would break through the ice, and then it would swim for a little bit, and then it'd crawl back up on the ice. So like it was as extreme as it was here.
And y'all were busting holes with that?
Yeah. We busted holes getting to where we were hunting at. And then it was only like an inch of ice. So then we'd drive the trek around, and then it'd stay open for the whole hunt.
Yeah.
But I mean, we pulled up on stuff that looked like, the cover of that catalog, and it stayed like that till the hunt was over. It was amazing.
Just smashing them.
It was amazing.
We kind of experienced that same thing over in East Arkansas, is when that freeze, or right before the freeze, when everything was coming down, and then right after, like when we were driving around, just the most ducks I've probably ever seen in the 7-8 years we've been able to hunt over there.
It happened overnight, and you could probably say the same, because we hunted down in Rowe. We were hunting south of here, and it was like a 50-degree day, 40. Well, at the high.
It was chilly.
But then the next day is like when that push was coming through, and like I-40 filled up with snow geese. Like I've never seen so many snow geese around. We get over to Wynn, snow geese, probably more snow geese I've seen in 10 years.
No doubt.
Just loaded. And then literally the day after the snow geese, here are the ducks. And we killed them for 2 days, and then that Monday it froze, gone. Every duck left, all the snow geese left.
Yeah.
And so just the conditions. I mean, I saw your Instagram deal where the ducks were eating grass off a levee just to stay around here.
Anything they could eat. They had one little spot they kept open, and I think that is a testament as to how bad a duck wants to get away from people and how they are programmed to get away from pressure, because that was in our willows, our rest area of the woods. I don't know, we had single-digit temps. It never got out of freezing for like 5 or 6 days, and they still kept the main channel of the ditch open and refused to leave because they knew they'd be safe there. Now, and it cost a lot of them, because you found those feather piles where hawks or eagles or some kind of critter would get them, but they'd stay in that ditch. And I guess throughout the day, they'd walk up on that levee and get them. I planted it with wheat. They was eating that green wheat. They'd eaten acorns, any and everything they could find. But it was a line from the edge of the water to the edge of the water. If you took that line up on the levee, it was bare, almost like dirt. And then once you got to where the ditch was froze, it picked up green again. I guess they'd walk up there, and if something come after them, they could get down in that water and get away from them. But that's a testament of what a no pressure will do to ducks, and how they know when they can stay somewhere and not get shot. They just hated to leave. And we had a cornfield that was froze, but obviously some of the ears were out. And I think some of those ducks throughout the day would hop up and fly over to the corn, give them a little bite, and then hurry up and get back before it would freeze. It was, man, like I said, it's tough. And I'm a hunter. I love to shoot them as much as anybody. But as a manager and loving to see them thrive, I felt sorry for them. I really did. And we got a place on the White River we could have went and shot them. But I'm like, man, I'm just gonna let them live for a little while. When they get back to their normal condition. And hey, yes, I'm spoiled. Yes, we had shot several before then. If I hadn't had a very good season and only killed a handful before that, I probably would have been over on the river standing on the banks blasting them. Yeah. But I didn't. I hadn't had to do that, so I love to see them thrive, and was happy to see them fatten back up, and in the last 4, 5, 6 days of season, get in the woods and be back to their normal selves, and then we shot some. So I don't know. We're all hunters, but hunters are the best conservationists, and we care about what we shoot,
Yeah. I think that's another thing that's kind of people don't really get a grasp of, or that it's misconcepted, whatever that word is, of like, we're just here to kill them. And, people that don't really hunt as much, you're just killing these innocent animals, yada, but they don't really understand, like, we do care. Like you were saying, you want to see them thrive, and you gave them a rest. And I think that's another thing that kind of hunters get a bad rap from the non-hunting community, just uneducated, of like, no, it's necessary. And like you were saying, it's one of those things that we do it because we like to do it, but there's also other reasons, and not just for the killing.
Absolutely.
Well, just people buying license, like just for the conservation overall. It's like buying licenses, just like you were talking about, if it wasn't for the guys putting crops in the ground and putting water down, I mean, people that hunt care more about the animals than anybody.
Absolutely. I totally agree with that, 100%.
Oh, yeah.
I guess going back to the land manager stuff, I mean, we probably should have started off with this, but do you want to give us a little rundown how the Coca-Cola deal started, just kind of how you grew up with that, and then now what's your role with Coca-Cola?
Absolutely. So I was working in a seed and chemical company, and was helping around here a little bit when my uncle was still alive, and then my brother, and there was farmers who farmed ground for the federal government over around Ball Knob. And the way that deal worked, they didn't pay any rent. The government would come in there and mark out their piece of property that they wanted the crops left in. So if you farmed 100 acres of rice, they'd come out, mark out their 0.25% or quarter rent, which is 25 acres. They'd mark it out, and the farmer would cut everything else, and then that was their rent, was what they left in the field. And that really hit me hard. And I'm like, all right, so they're leaving crops for the ducks. And I mean, this is in 2003 and 4, 20 years ago. Wow. Didn't really think about it till just now.
Getting up there, man.
I am. This gray hair don't lie. And I'm like, well, if you can't beat them, join them. And we could kind of see that's where it was going. And so we had just built a new blind in one section of the property, and we're like, this would be a really good rest area. And we abandoned it, never hunted it again. And then we started leaving crops in our rest fields that joined the woods. And then that's when I started planting the rice in the woods. I'd plant about 20 or 21 different little holes in the woods with rice and farm it just like a farmer, with smaller equipment, obviously. And we would leave it. And, man, that caught on, and it's unbelievable how many people have watched those old videos of me doing that, with Freddy King and stuff. And like I said, this is in 04, 05. I didn't really realize it, but there wasn't a lot of people doing that in the woods, apparently. And it caught on. But the reason I started was to, like, kind of, if you can't beat them, join them. I could see that's kind of where this deal was going. And so we developed a rest area in the woods that we wouldn't hunt. We started planting the food plots in the woods, and then we started doing the crops in the field. And it just set the tone. We were kind of ahead of the game. And this piece of property has always been good. Now, as a manager, and, it's changed hands. And fortunately, the new owner, he's all in. I mean, whatever is best for the ducks and the property and holding ducks, that's what he's about. And so that's what we've just tried to get better every year. No matter what you do, that's just the way I feel like everyone that's sitting at this couch is. Everybody wants to improve from last year, whether it's make a little more money or print a little more food for the ducks, or what can I do to just get better? What do they say? 1%. Just get 1% better every year. And that's what, honestly, I've tried to do with this piece of property the last 20 years. And this was my 20th season as manager, this past one. So,
well, congrats.
Yeah, congrats on that.
Thank
That's
you.
pretty awesome.
I made it 20. But, man, I grew up here, and my uncle was the manager here for 40-plus years before he passed away. And I got an older brother who's 15 years older than me, and they've taught me everything I know. Now, working at a seed and chemical company, I learned how to do food plots and stuff. And there's been some stuff I've kind of did my own deal on. But I've always just done my gig here just to make them proud, I had a great – my uncle, my brother taught me how to do this. They taught me how to blow a duck call. Rick Dunn taught me how to blow a duck call. And honestly, man, any of this stuff I do is just trying to make them proud. It ain't about me at all. Just been blessed with some really good teachers, and a lot of times just sit back and watch and learn, and just, I don't know, it's fun. It's fun. But that's how it all kind of started, was just seeing the writing on the wall before all the stink come up about leaving food, and people not really liking it. But we were kind of ahead of the game, and I feel like it's imprinted them. They go to our rest area every year. That's the last place they are when they leave, and that's the first place they are when they show up. And that's where they were during the freeze. They know they're safe there.
There was a pile of them there today.
There was a couple
there.
around. Sure was. And I'm a big, and it's something else, putting corn or whatever you want to in the woods after season. Yes, you're going to imprint some ducks, I think. But more importantly, especially after the winter these ducks just had a few weeks ago, if a guy can, I called the boss man. I'm like, all right, hey, I think for about $1,500, $2,000, we can put a pretty good amount of corn in the woods, imprint some ducks, but more importantly, let them fatten up for that trip back north. 'Cause I don't figure that's an easy flight. And so we put out corn, and then they're living their best life right now, as y'all see.
That look like it.
They're enjoying it, and as conservationists, I feel like you're doing them a solid, and you're just all right. Thank you for being good to us. Now we're good to you. Now come back and see us next year.
Yeah, I think that was probably one of the coolest things just about today was just being able to ride around and just see how many were still here and watching them fly around, and it's just something cool. It's a spectacle.
What's cool for me as a manager is that the Cache River's out of its banks. The White River's been out of its banks.
Everything coming in. That was crazy how much water there is.
There's thousands of acres of water around, but they're here. And they were here before we put the corn out after season. Why? And we hunt every day. So, I don't know, man. Pressures, I don't understand all the reports. They'll tell you that hunting license sales are down. But they'll tell you that pressure's up, and that's the problem. Hold up.
Well, that just there at face value, that makes no sense.
That doesn't.
Yeah.
That's 1 and 1 don't equal 3.
Yeah.
It equals 2. So I'm not sure what to believe anymore. But I do know less pressure in rest areas is key, and that's again, I think that's why they come back, because they know, we don't hop in the middle of them. We leave them places to rest, and it sets the tone, and they remember it from year to year. And it's just if that hen, she's lucky enough to go up north and have a couple little ones and brings them back here, well, now they know to come here. And then when they go back, it does the same, and it's just a ripple of snowball effect. Mm-hmm. And I think you do that over a number of years, you develop a special piece of property. And I think y'all are doing, honestly, something very similar with y'all's place. Yep. It's really cool to watch.
It's gotten night and day. I mean, Ruck was with me kind of when we first started hunting. This was 12, 13 years ago. I think we're on year 14 or 15 of Cypress Bend, and the willow trees have gotten bigger, the hardwoods have gotten bigger. Deer hunting's gotten tremendously better, but the duck hunting has come right along with it. I mean, we're noticing just –
And, I mean, there was years where, you'll all your stuff in the summer, the sweat now, shoot them later kind of thing. Like, that's work that nobody wants to do. And, a couple years ago, we're out there in just 100-degree heat, muddy, and we're out there hand spreading, different millet, and I mean, all kinds of stuff. And, it's one of those things.
It's been cool to watch it go from here to here. Yeah. And it's definitely, I mean, it's a process. It ain't happening overnight. It's not 1 or 2 years. It's a lifetime of the property. And hopefully, 20 years from now, all the small willow trees and oak trees, they start getting bigger and better, and we just start seeing improvement. Yeah. Going back to your management thing, I've always been curious. Do you go out in the afternoons and scout? Do you go out and figure out where these ducks are really hanging out, and then you go hunt away from them, or do you cut them off? Or you don't find out where exactly they're at and go hunt there. You kind of
hunt the edges.
Hunt the edges of
right.
It.
Yeah. Yes. I'll try to either go out, let's just say 2:30, 3 o'clock, and just putt around. I know mud motors are a great tool when used right, but I also know they're very loud. So we use outboards here, and you can putt around and ease around and be, I don't know. I mean, heck, we drove right by those ducks today, and some of them never even got up. They'll swim away from you. So quiet, not bump your ducks. I heard a survey the other day. They said when you jump ducks, I believe it was said 50% come back within the next hour, 25% come back in the next 6 to 8 hours, and the other 25% leave.
That's crazy.
All right. So if you jump all your ducks up twice, you've lost half your ducks. The way I figure that.
Yeah.
Don't know how true that is. Even if it's remotely close, you need to not bump them, right? So ease around, figure out the ducks, but then we do what's a really cool deal, which we've labeled it a cocktail cruise. We get the guests here, fix them a drink, get in the boat at 4:30, ease back, and go set on the levee. And we sit there till dark, and we watch all the ducks leave the woods, and it is cool. I mean, I've seen it a million times, it seems like. And it does get old to go back here every day. But once you're there, once you're watching the ducks, you're like, man, I'm glad I came back here. And for the guests and the boss man, they absolutely – they love it. It's as good as shooting them, you know, just to watch them. This is a spectacle. You can learn a lot that evening doing that. You know, there's been days I'd go and I didn't know if I had any ducks on the north end, and you're watching and you're like, where are these ducks coming from? Well, they're doing it every day. You figure out, well, those ducks are coming off of around the Lost Buck Hole or somewhere. And so, yes, I do somewhat scout every day. It differentiates on how I do it. I scout for one to make sure I don't hop in the middle of them, and two, just to hunt the edges. And yes, I will get in between them. You know, there's one spot in the woods I know if I can just get ducks over me, I can kill them, whether they're using it or not. If I can just get under them, I'll shoot them.
Be careful not to sky blast, though.
Oh,
Yeah, don't do that, man.
yeah. I mean, a 25-yard shot is sky busting, according to some folks, right? It's yeah, that was a great. Oh man,
Facebook,
I have
Facebook knows all, man.
dude. I have taught my kids, and when you didn't have nothing, you didn't have to worry about nobody hating on you, right? But when you try to do something, you're never going to be criticized by somebody doing more than you.
Never.
Ever. It's always somebody doing less. And like, I'm old school. My daddy was old school. If you can't say something nice, don't say nothing at all. Just keep your mouth shut.
Yeah.
There's been a bunch of times I've typed something out or on my phone or whatever and be like, delete. I ain't posting that, you know.
Yeah.
Not
Not today, man.
It's real simple, man. Just if you can't say something nice, don't say nothing at all. And what I've taught my kids, and this is, I don't really like the word, but I'm like, girls, people suck.
Oh, yeah. Well, hey, enough of our millennial generation's bad enough, but what is it, Gen Z is the younger one?
Yeah.
Oh, they make us look great, man.
Yeah.
It's only getting rougher. So,
yeah, I mean, I think
it.
I heard I think it might have been like Joe Rogan or something that was saying, yeah, like social media is great for a lot of things. You can get information from it. You can, use it for marketing or whatever. But he said it's not how the human race was like meant to communicate. It was supposed to be where you can see somebody's emotion, talk to somebody face to face. And it's like a lot of those people that are chirping online, it's like, all right, but if you were standing 5 feet away from me, are you saying exactly what you're typing out? Probably not.
No.
And it is, man. It's just, it's probably the ultimate, like, most soft thing you could possibly do is talk crap to somebody online for no reason. Like, they probably never met you. You probably never met them. Don't know them for a lick, but they got something to say.
Right. And I mean, I try to treat people the way I'd want to be treated, and I don't know. Maybe I've been I know my wife says I'm a butthole, but I don't think I am to everybody else. I may be to her, but yeah, it's the world we live in, and it ain't going nowhere. But when it's used right, it's a great thing. Social media is, from YouTube to Instagram, whatever. But when it's used the other way, it's a bad thing. It's a bad thing.
Yeah. Luckily, I think it's almost capped out on both its positive and negative spectrum, so hopefully it can't get much rougher than it is on social media, but
there's no accountability anymore.
No, and there's no way to address it, really. It is what it is.
You go back, God, I was going to say 20 years, but that just puts me at 03. You go back 30-something years when my daddy was sheriff, and you're arresting somebody and he drops the F-bomb to you. Well, you take them big old paws he had and open hand slap him, and when he gets up, he's got a whole different attitude.
Yeah.
And honestly, that's what's wrong with the world today. You can't do that no more. Or you can, and it needs done.
I know.
But it's on video.
That's on video.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
You get run over now for it.
That's right. But, so anyway, yeah, if you could get punched in the mouth or get your tail whipped, yeah, it'd be a lot different, lot better world. But
It changed the conversation pretty quick.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it changed your whole outlook on life.
Yeah.
For sure. I mean, like I said, I don't know, man. Some of these people say stuff. I'm like, dude, if you was in arm's reach of me, I don't think you'd say that.
No.
But maybe he would. Maybe he's a slow learner. I don't know. But
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think a purge of social media for like a month of each year for everybody would do any bad. I think it'd be a good thing. I've thought about doing it, just try to find like 2 weeks or something, just be like, all right, not even going to touch the social media stuff. It's good for the brain.
The problem
just
is,
get away
though,
from it for a minute.
It part of your business and your income revolves around
100%.
that. So it's like
100%.
the positive side of
Yeah.
it takes a hit when you try to purge away from it or get
Yeah.
away from it. I mean, you can limit yourself, but like
Yeah.
for you especially,
Yeah,
I mean,
I couldn't do it unless I wanted to hire somebody to
Manage your social media.
manage it for that time period. But damn it, it's almost worth it.
But dude, at the end of the day, these people who you've never met, their opinion doesn't matter. They don't deserve 10 seconds of your time.
That's right.
Especially me with home with a wife and two little girls. Gosh dang, I keep thinking I'm young. I'm old. I got one in college. But with a wife and 2 kids, they don't deserve 2 minutes of my time, me sitting here explaining myself.
Yeah.
Like I talked about with you we'll just call it what it is, that video y'all posted of those kids. I seen you the night before. Them kids was excited to go hunting. A kid wants to go shoot. We're going to teach them the right way. Now, first of all, the duck the kid shot folded up, stone graveyard dead.
he was dish ragged.
That's right. I'm gonna say less than 30 yards. And with today's technology, I mean, again, we're gonna set it up. You're in a short timber. It's cloudy, not ideal. But man, you just want to get the kids some shooting and let them kill some ducks. How can you turn that into something bad? But you always got a guy who's going, let's teach them to sky bust. First of all, he wasn't sky busting. And I really, really, really want to comment on there. But that cat ain't worth 10 minutes of my time for me texting when my wife's laying there beside me in bed at bedtime. I'll leave out the details, but like, I'm not giving you my time when I could be talking to her. So like,
No.
it's just
they
easier.
win at that point.
It's just, that's exactly right. They don't deserve our time. And so anyway.
What blows my mind is how you watch that video and all you take out of that video. I mean,
no, you don't see the kids smile.
They're laughing. They just did something that they're probably going to talk about when they graduate high school.
Oh yeah.
And then someone's like, they sky busted. Get out of here.
How can you created a memory and you did something for them kids that, I took 2 kids, one of my best friends in high school, and man, he married a good girl, but he had some demons, and then they caught back up with him, and he just kind of went off in left field. And his little boys have heard the stories, and they've seen the pictures of when we used to hunt together. And I said, man, if I ever get a chance, I'd love to take them boys. And again, I'm pulling from my buddy used to be my buddy. I don't want him to be messed up, but unfortunately, he just had a tough time with it. But them boys have suffered from it. And I said, man, if I can take them kids hunting and create a memory where they got a picture with some ducks like their dad did when we were growing up and even after they were born, man, that'd be cool. And on the youth hunt, which I seen you at Tamale Factory that night, I let them buy. I said, get whatever you want off the menu. Of course, they want a couple cheeseburgers. I'm like, dude, they got steaks. You can get cheeseburgers.
2 pounds.
I'm with them. Man. I'm with them.
Yeah,
I'm getting
that's
a
class
cheeseburger
diet
too.
right there.
Dude, but
sign me up.
we had a great meal.
Oh, so that's who you were with whenever I saw you.
I had met their mom and picked them up down in Des Arc and brought them back, and they stayed at the house, and I took them, and they had never duck hunted before. And you could not tell because them boys handled shotguns as good as most grown men. They hid good, and they shot their limit of ducks, backpedaling in the lost buck hole. And I'm going to tell you, man, I was about half choked up because I was like, golly, this is something these kids will never forget. And you know what's cool about that is you think you're creating something for them, but when it's all said and done, we're the ones that win.
Oh yeah.
The feeling we get by doing something like that that's the good stuff. Through videos and stuff, I've helped people learn how to plant food plots. I've helped people learn how to blow a duck call, and that's awesome. But if we don't use this for something that makes a difference in somebody's life, that's the good stuff. The Be Real I did with Real Tree. they knocked it out of the park, and you were here for a lot of that. And
Yeah, that was cool.
that message to send of like, hey, man, when you've only got X amount of days with these people that have taught you, like, say thank you. Thank you, uncle. Thank you, granddaddy. Thank you, daddy, your mom, whoever it is that got you in the outdoors. And it ain't just the outdoors, but it's life in general, man. Tell them what they mean to you. And I had so many people watch that video and reach out to me and be like, my kids watch this, and they have been different kids. Another guy's like, man, I told him I was with my grandpa in Kansas. Little did I know this was our last fall together. But I sat down, and because of what you said, I was able to thank him and have that moment, have that closure, and I lost him in the winter. And I'm like, that stings, but like, thank God that he was able to tell him. Mm-hmm. So, you know, all this stuff is good as far as ducks and food plots and calling. But, man, when you can do real life lessons, that's the good stuff. When you create those memories and teach, build character, and, again, man, that's what we're here for.
I feel like you get to do it on a daily basis. You probably see some of the same clients yearly, but you get to take different groups daily or weekly, and you get to see reactions from people. I get to hunt with these rotten guys just about every day, so we're just another day at the office for us. But I will say, when we have the Florida guys up, or we have Jackson and Noah for the youth hunt, seeing kids or seeing even grown men shoot something for the first time, whether it's a deer or a duck, that's the reaction that I'm looking for.
Absolutely.
And that's hard to beat.
You can't beat it. Yeah, I've seen a lot of first ducks. And you know, just even people who don't hunt, even the wives that come here, the wives and the small kids, you know, watching a lot of these people grow up in a concrete jungle, for lack of a better term. You know, they're over there in Memphis or wherever, or Atlanta or wherever the city may be. So for them to come in the Delta and watch the sunset over these rice fields, and then ducks pour out with a little old fire on the levee, and then come eat a duck appetizer, it's like, it's those little things, and the little things to us end up being the big things to a lot of people. Mm-hmm. We take a lot of stuff for granted. Mm-hmm. So yeah, man, this is home. This is a cool gig. It's a great gig, and it's something I'm forever thankful for. And I grew up a mile from right here. This is all I've ever known is this area. I'm 45. And I learned to walk right here where we're sitting, and where that old clubhouse was, and killed my first squirrel, well, probably about 100 yards east of here, and was proud of him. Shot him with a single barrel 410 third grade, and come up here, and my grandma chewed my butt. She said, you're supposed to make sure you're past the second well. These squirrels up here are the ones that come in the yard. And I'm like, okay, well, this one won't be back. Yeah.
But this one's been retired.
Yeah. So, man, I have so many memories here, and just this is good stuff here, and a special piece of property. And it, you know, it may not be special to everybody else, but by God, it's special to me. So.
Well, that's cool to hear, and we're fortunate enough to hunt a lot. We do a ton of hunting, but when we come here, I feel like I'm in freaking Disney World. No doubt. You walk right out here, the boat trail. I mean, everything about where you're at, man, it's special.
Yeah, I mean, we just went through a 60-day season that was a grind, and we had a pretty good year. And it's February the 12th, and we're riding around freezing cold rain, and I'm just like a kid at Disney World watching these things fly around. It's something so cool.
It's a sacred piece of property, and it's not something I take for granted. And I get to do it every day, you know, and here in the summer. But for me, you know, it's all about the whole process, seeing it come full circle from the time we pull the water off, fight the beavers, plant the rice comes up. It's like every little stage is just something that makes you smile. And then when it all comes full circle and you see the ducks and they're back, you know you did your job. And then today, you know, like you said, February, and they're still here, it's just like, all right, we're doing it right. Let's just keep doing it. It's cool, man. I hope everyone that had a hand in this is proud.
Guarantee they are.
Yeah, there's no way they can't be.
I hope so.
Shifting gears, I mean, I know we're about 50 minutes in. I kind of want to get a few more topics covered real quick. Back to the land management stuff. If you were to tell somebody that's never planted food in the timber or even planted a food plot in general, like we're in Arkansas, like what time of year, what's your step-by-step process? I mean, we see you on Instagram, but just right here raw, just kind of go over your process.
So if you're going to plant rice, I plant the rice here between May the 20th and June the 10th, that window. Now, that can vary earlier depending on where you're at. If you've got timber and can plant rice in the holes, if you can get a stand, so a lot of people think you got to have water to plant rice or to make rice grow. Rice just needs moisture. The reason people keep it flooded is for weed pressure. There's a lot of grasses and weeds that won't grow in water, so they keep it flooded. And rice will grow in it. So there's that. That's my window for rice. If a guy, so I would recommend somebody wanting to first try it, try some millet first. August, September, the whole month of August is good. And just try the millet. And if you like the millet, maybe you try to do a little rice. The very first year I planted this was in 04 or 05. I can't remember. And I had about 10 different plots in the woods at that time. I did a plot with rice. I did one with milo. I did a hole with corn. I did millet. And what that did, that gave me some intel on, all right, what's going to work best here? And I've told a lot of people that, try a few different things. All right, so that year, corn, man, it got up. It was pretty and got ears about that long. And I was gone 3 days and came back, and there was coon poop everywhere, and every stalk was broke over. The coons come in there and just absolutely wiped it out. I'm like, all right, well, we can't plant corn, not a small amount of corn. Milo, the deer ate pretty good. It made a little bit, but the deer ate it. Millet did okay, but it matured a little early and shattered off, and then sprouted again. So you really didn't have a lot of food with the millet. But the rice, man, the rice just absolutely killed it. And I'm like, all right, next year going forward, we're going to go wall-to-wall rice. And I hadn't looked back since for us. So my biggest deal is, that's here. It may be different at your place. It may be different at whoever's place. You may have higher ground. But what helps us here is that the holes are surrounded by timber. You disc them every year. They're a little lower, so they hold moisture better. They're in the shade a lot of the day. So you get sunlight, let's just say from 10 to 3. So you get enough sun to keep it growing, but it doesn't suck all that moisture out of the ground. That's a few of the bigger factors of what helps us.
You don't have to put water on at all in the
I don't
off-season.
have to. Now,
have you ever water seeded?
Oh yeah. I water seed some. So when I was younger, I had a little relift, and I would go water each hole. I had a little piece of poly pipe at each hole, and I'd back that relift down the ditch. I'd pump that hole full, and then I'd go to the next one and just run some water in it. And man, it did great. I ain't that gung-ho no more, for one, but two, I figured out that it was kind of overkill, and there's enough moisture to keep it growing. I was pumping up the ditch one year to have enough water to flood my rice, and I let the well run an extra day. And when I went to back the relift in, there was already water in one of my plots. So I accidentally figured out that all our bigger plots on the east side, that's the first place that the water backs into. So it's like once you find that sweet spot, you kick both wells on for 3 days, all your rice on your east side has got a flood without getting on your trees. Yeah. So it's like the best of both worlds. So yes, water seeding rice. There's a couple holes the beavers will always stop up. They either build a dam across a little cut, or they'll stop a pipe up. You can go in there, guys, in late May, early June, let it be plenty warm, and the water can be a foot deep. So about 2.5, 3 bushel of rice to the acre, just with a 4-wheeler or hand seeder, whatever you can do, and let it set 48 hours. And then cut that pipe open or cut that beaver dam out and let that hole drain. And what will happen, that rice it'll have a little old tit on the end of it, a little white tit coming off, and that'll stick to that mud. And once that rice sticks to that mud and you get the water off, in 2 or 3 days, you'll have a little old green leaf starting to come up. And once you can ever get it to that point and get a stand, now we're rolling. And that saves you a ton of work. The biggest food plot in the woods is close to 2 acres, and it always is slow to dry up. And it would take me about 8 hours with that little Kubota and 6-foot disc. I mean, it was a chore all day long. When I figured out how to water seed it, well, man, now I can roll in there in 45 minutes, seed it, come back the next day. It may be, or 2 days later, it may be a pain in the butt for an hour or so to dig the dam out. But once you get the water going off, you just saved yourself so much labor.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you got to use it. And not to mention, you're using that water, you're not losing all your moisture. So now the first 2 weeks of that rice growing, he's got plenty of moisture to get a good start.
When do you start the fertilization? Do you go fertilize
Absolutely.
with urea or something like that?
I'll fertilize with urea.
Do you try to fertilize it to jump it past, like, I mean, do you deal with army worms out here?
Absolutely. Yes. And if you plant it late, that's what I was going to say about the millet. You know how susceptible millet is. That when in August and September to army worms. I have had them getting in the rice as well, and I have fought that before. Fortunately, we've got an airstrip less than a mile away. They fly over the woods every day doing stuff. So the bigger food plots, they'll fertilize and spray for worms if I have to, but every year I have them fertilize them what they can. And I spray it, I fertilize it with the same little old system on my four-wheeler. My spray rig will spray 20 feet wide. My fertilizer little hopper will sling urea about 20 feet wide.
So you do the granular no, you don't spray the fertilizer.
And you can follow those same tracks. So, you know, we've got 4 or 5 four-wheelers here. I'll have a spray rig on one, a fertilize/seeder on the other, and you can follow the same tracks. That's what makes it tough back here is everything's in 50-pound bags.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of in and out. And in my spray rig, you do a 2-acre load, so you're at about 7 trips in and out to spray everything. It's labor intensive, but man,
Sure is worth it.
it is worth it. In 20 years, you learn all the shortcuts. I've turned four-wheelers over. I've got stuck more times than I can count. I've walked every step of that. If you get stuck, it's always going to be on the back corner, and you're going to have to walk 2.5 miles out. But when you do that enough times, you learn where not to drive, and you're a little more careful. But yeah, anything you can do, that's what I tell people. Anything you can do to improve it, do it. But worst case scenario, you learn something.
Yeah.
You learn something. And you're better off out here working in the woods than you are, let's just say your kids want to do it, than he is playing a video game.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's something else cool, you know, trying to inspire people to just do something. Even if you've got a 1-acre cattle pond in Alabama, if you can go plant the edges and millet, man, do it.
Yeah.
You know, I had a dad text me, said it, or messaged me on Instagram one time. He said his son had watched videos and he's been planting the edge of their ponds and he's building wood duck boxes. Man, they got that kid out from front of a TV or behind a video game, and he's out doing something productive. Worst case scenario, he learns something.
Or worst case scenario, he sky busts one of those wood ducks.
Yeah, that's exactly. And he happens to be banded.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what I tell people too. You know, if you buy yourself one extra hunt, just by getting out there like you do with a hand seeder or whatever. What if it's a kid's first duck? What if it's a banded duck? Now all the work that you did is worth it. You don't even think nothing about it.
Yep.
Speaking of banded, we mentioned it earlier, we've got a new wader coming out that is
It's pretty nice.
it's nice.
It's pretty nice.
It's nice. Obviously, we've had issues and stuff, and I feel like we've all worked together and tried to fix some of those. I think we're going to be all right.
Yeah, I agree.
A new wader style, a couple new wader styles, a pretty wicked camo coming out that I can't wait for people to see.
Yeah, it's a cool combo, and it's just cool because like a lot of other brands have, I feel like, been relaunching new product year after year. Some new products middle of season and new product end of season, and with Bandit and Realtree, I feel like they've kind of sat back a couple of years while this stuff's just been like coming and going, and now that these two new things are launching, I feel like they've kind of spearheaded everything, and I don't know, it's a really cool wader and really cool pattern, so it'll be cool to see what the response is on it to the public.
I didn't really mean to jump topics there, but when I said Bandit, I just thought about the new waders.
Yeah.
No, that's the other topic I wanted to cover, really, because I mean, we're, a week or so away from NWTF?
Yeah, less than that. It starts
3 days.
Yeah, 3. You're going to NWTF.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm gonna miss that one. I'm gonna go out to Seawee in Charleston. But I think we've got coverage, Bandit and Realtree at both shows, and the little I've seen that's on the new trailers it's a pretty cool setup.
I'm anxious to go. I've never been before, and y'all said it was a good time. And I don't know, man. I like meeting people. I like helping people, and just it's crazy, this deal. I mean, which y'all have done the same, to see things grow. It's like, man, I'm just a dang redneck from Morton, Arkansas that blows a duck call and happens to to be part of a really special piece of property. But I don't know, people like watching it and seeing the process. And, yeah, it's fun to meet people.
You're going to meet plenty in Nashville, man.
I've heard
that's a loaded up show, buddy.
Yeah. I'm going to try to get this thing released, this podcast, out as quick as I can. But if it's before NWTF, y'all be sure to go out and check out. What days are you going to be there?
I'm going to be there Friday and Saturday, all day Friday and Saturday. There'll be a good-looking black-headed woman with a banded shirt. She'll be there with me, too. And no kids. I'm excited to go, spend some time with her and meet some fine people and talk duck hunting and shake some hands. And
yeah,
it's going to be fun.
Yeah.
I don't see how it couldn't be.
Y'all going to go check out Broadway or Midtown in the night?
I don't have a clue.
Yeah.
I don't have a clue. I'm telling you, son, this is Morton. This is where I've been.
That city will do it to you, man.
We'll see.
It'll take you. So,
yeah,
it'll be cool.
I'm excited to go.
Mm-hmm.
Excited to go.
Rusty, what's next for you? You turkey hunting, you fishing?
Fishing, yeah. Love to turkey hunt and would go to 5 or 6 states every year. And my oldest, when she started playing high school softball, she's a baller, all-state basketball. I got a text as we were all out there a while ago. She's in college now, 98 on her A&P exam, so proud dad all the way around. She's good in the classroom. She was a well above average athlete. And so turkey season, obviously y'all know, and baseball or softball don't really mix.
Yeah.
And you kind of got to pick and choose. And here's another little pro tip. These kids grow up fast. And before you know it, they'll be in college. And you could see that light at the end of the tunnel coming. And fortunately, I noticed that when she was in the 8th, 9th grade when she started playing softball. And I was like, you know what? These turkeys still going to be here. You only get so many softball games. Only get so many baseball games. Be present. Be there. Because they're going to remember if you are, but they really going to remember if you ain't.
Yeah.
So, man, I decided, I'm like, I may hunt a day or two around here, but as you know, Arkansas turkey hunting ain't great. If you've ever been out of state, you know how good everybody else has it. Kind of like duck hunting. But so I quit turkey hunting for a while. And Nat, she's at A-State now. And now Miley Kate, my youngest one, she's a 9th grader, so she's starting high school ball. So
restarting the process.
Yep, 9th, 10th, 11th. So I figure turkeys are safe 4 more years. They got 4 more years. Now I'm heck on the bass. So I've got an old Skeeter bass boat, and man, I can run to Greer's or go to some little old lake, run to Little Rock, fish Arkansas River or something, and be back home by 4 o'clock and make it to a ball game a couple of days a week. So that's what I do now. It's going to be hell to pay on the turkeys in about 5 years, though. I'm just telling you, I'm going to be hollering at y'all. We're going to go. I got to catch up. So no, man, I'm in dad mode. I love my girls, and again, that's the stuff that counts. They grow up fast. But yeah, bass fishing and high school softball till summer, and then draining water and fighting beavers, and then start the process all over again, planting. It's fun, man. Life's good. I can't complain. Married my high school sweetheart. This will be our 24th anniversary. Married young.
But I was about to say, you better make sure you get that year right.
Well,
if she watches this podcast,
we got married in 2000, so
there you go. That's easy.
It's
then.
easy.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, time flies, and 2 little girls who used to be little, and it's just crazy sitting here. And it didn't really hit me till I said, this is 20 years. I'm like, oh, wow, this is 2024. But, and, you know, in this whole industry deal, you're one of the OGs. I'm like, what? I'm not even old. And I'm like, oh, I'm 45. Well, maybe I am getting old.
Well, I mean, for guys watching this, most of us remember watching you on the old DVDs or VHS or whatever.
Oh, dude, yeah, I was going to say that was like one of the first things I remember, because in 03, 04, I would have been around 10.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. No, that's what I'm saying. Sorry to throw salt in the wound there. But, no, what I was going to say is, yeah, that was like one of the first kind of things that got me big into the duck hunting, was watching all of those and being like, damn, that is something that I really want to do. And that kind of sparked the interest in it. I'd always been interested in the outdoor stuff, but then watching that was like, man, that's something I want to do.
That's cool to hear that, and it never gets old hearing people say that. I hear that weekly from people on Instagram or whatever, run into people, and they'll be like, man, those old videos, that's what sparked my interest, and that's neat, man. That's really neat. So I guess I am one of the OGs. I don't feel like it. I think Rick Dunn is. You know, Freddy King, they're old, but I guess now I'm kind of the age they were when I got started. So
I was going to completely just not talk about it because we were kind of tapering that conversation down. But since we brought it back up, like, how did that whole thing kind of kickstart? Because it was Freddy King, Rick Dunn, you had a couple other guys on there. Tyler.
Yeah. So it was 2002, 2 or 3, I guess, and it was a drought year, and Rick and them were doing the VHS or DVDs, and they were working on Timber Heat 2, and friends with Mark Miles, and dog trainer and search, and him and Rick were friends. And he called me and said, Rusty, Rick needs a little footage, and was wondering if he could film a hunt. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, we'll see. And it wasn't great. We had some ducks, and I have learned so much over the 20-something years, mainly from just talking to like-minded people like y'all and Rick Dunn and throwing ideas around. But he said, man, we need a little more content to have for the DVD or VHS, whatever it was back then. And I said, all right. And it took us 2 or 3 trips and some really good editing and some horrible acting on my part of, hey, we're going to move spots, which was actually – from a different day, so we would have now I'm sure y'all
been there before.
Y'all never done that, right?
We've never ever done that.
So I'm like,
we shoot them all in the decoys.
I'm like, and it's horrible. And I'm like, hey Rick, what do you think we go to that blind, that big open hole? And then anyway, it was horrible acting. But he pieced it together, and we put a hunt together. And then the next year was Timber Heat 2, and then on Mallard Madness 1. We did a couple hunts, but over that off season, I wanted to learn. I mean, I was blowing a Haydale's DRD5 and a Big Guy's Best, which actually had an echo insert in it. But I told Rick, I said, I want to learn to blow a single reed duck call, because I could read the writing on the wall. These guys, I knew my timing was good. I knew the when and when not, but I didn't sound like they did. So I went over that summer, and once a week I'd go work with Rick, and he built me a little acrylic timber calls, and that was when Rob Watts was there, and they worked with me. And then the next spring, so I blew a single reed that fall, and then that winter, and the next spring I started working at Echo a day or two a week, just for make a little extra money, but more or less just to be in the mix and learn from the best. And
how old were you?
Sheesh, 04. I mean, 03, 04, 05-ish. So 27, 26, 27. I mean, and learned. And so I learned to blow a single reed duck call the right way from one of the best teachers there ever was. And then I was like, of course, he had just won the Worlds in 97, and Rob was competing and some more guys. And I said, I want to learn to blow a competition call. So I went down that, and you know, people say, oh, competition, that don't sound like a duck. It may not, but like if a man can blow a competition routine, he can take a hunting call and absolutely kill it. Now, his timing, he still may not know when and when not, but as far as sounding like ducks, he can do it. So it took me 3 years to qualify for Worlds, and in 2010 I qualified for Worlds and placed 12th out of 71 or 72. Made the third round, and man, I had never been to the Worlds contest until I blew in it, which was
2010.
2010.
Was that when Brad won?
Yep, that's when Brad won, blowing a Rich and Tone. He swapped from Echo that year, earlier that year, and I mean it was fine. I mean it's a little political, you know, and that's what he needed to be blowing to win the World. Now was Brad just as good a caller the year before with an Echo? Yes, he was. It's just politics, you know. It's in anything, but it was fine. Brad's a great guy. He makes a good duck call, and obviously a very, very talented caller. But so in between that time, those 3 years, we filmed every year a hunt or two back here. We did the bow hunts, and all the way from Timber Heat 2 till Mallard Madness, I think 6 or 7. So for 6 or 7 years, I was in the loop, and we'd always film a hunt or two, or sometimes more. And that really, during that same time frame, is when we started doing the YouTube stuff with a little decoy company, and Freddy was putting those out. And
Is that the inflatables?
yep, the old Cherokee Sports, and it's just those videos though are some of the most watched duck hunting videos. You know, when you go look at the views on those old videos, it's crazy. You know, 700,000-800,000 views, and
I bet I was 1,000 of them.
oh, that's awesome. So it's
Sitting there with your little Cheeto balls, 10-year-old rucker.
Yes. Sitting there with my SpongeBob lunchbox just watching duck hunting.
oh gosh, that's awesome. So that's how that all started, and Freddie played a huge part in getting my name out there and this place out there, and you know, he talks too much, but he's a hardcore guy and a great duck hunter and a good friend. And again, I owe success to so many people. You know, Rick, Freddie, my uncle, my daddy, my brother. They've taught me the right way. And you know, everybody's got bad to them, bad traits, but I feel like along the way I've been able to see the good and the bad and take more from the good and learn from the bad as well and what not to do. And I don't know, it goes back to treat people the way you want to be treated. And if you can't say something nice, don't say nothing at all. Mm-hmm. And a good firm handshake and look somebody in the eye and yes sir, no sir. Yeah, it'll make you stand out today for sure. You know, back in those days it was commonplace. Respect was. But now, you know, Nat, my oldest, she's an old soul, and she's very well spoken, and we took her everywhere we've ever gone. So she grew up around grown-ups, and she stands out because she's well mannered. You know, she might have been dumb as a sack of hammers, but she was going to have. Now I say that she was valedictorian of her class.
So you're talking about the one that just made a 98
on her
A&P?
A&P. That's right. But like she's an old soul, and she's that old school because she hung around me, and I'm just like my daddy was, and my daddy was old school, and you know, he wasn't always a saint, but he made sure you knew right from wrong, and you had manners, and you had ethics and morals, and you right's right, wrong's wrong. There ain't no gray area, and she picked up on that, and it's been fun to sit back and watch her stand out in a world where that is lost.
Oh, it's a dying breed for sure.
Absolutely. That old school stuff needs to be more of it. Mm-hmm. So, and it's not cool anymore to be old school, but I'll just keep being non-cool.
I'm with you, man.
I'll just rather be not cool.
I'd rather be on the uncool side of that too.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
You boys, y'all got anything else? Like
Not really. Not off the top of my head.
We've been going pretty strong. About an hour.
Yeah. Well, this wasn't even planned either. We just kind of threw it together. And like we say, for the previous 9 episodes, like, man, we don't know. We're just going to wing it. Maybe we'll get 30 minutes. Might get an hour. And we look up an hour 15 later and say, yeah, here we are.
Yeah.
And it's easy when you got, you know, a guest like Rusty, quality information.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just really cool to be able to hear your background, your story. And, you know, like Ruck said, he's been watching since he was in diapers.
Yeah,
you
pretty
hunt,
much.
and now we get to sit here and talk to you. So, yeah,
I feel old now. I ain't gonna lie. I feel old.
Well, Rusty, you ain't young.
Yeah.
No. Hey, y'all saw what I did on bench press this morning.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Don't short me.
Yeah. May have to start a competition with you. I'm not too far behind. We'll get something going. See who
Okay.
can do the most on there.
Man, you ain't got no grade. You're prettier than I am. You gonna win.
No.
You gonna win.
No, I got a little work to do if I'm gonna catch up. Would you do 12 of them?
12 at 2 1/4, and I've only been back lifting 2 weeks now.
That's solid.
So yeah,
I got a little ways to go.
For 6'5", 205, 45 years old, I'll take it.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's
I'll
stout.
take it.
I'll take 2 1/4 cheeseburgers down the side.
Yeah,
That's where we're going when we leave here, man.
But I appreciate y'all having me. I love what y'all do. Y'all do it right, and
appreciate you having us too.
glad to call y'all friends.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
Good time, man.
Yeah. Well, and enjoyed having you on, Rusty.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Director of photography, Slick.
Yeah, I got to get back on that next
Yeah,
year.
he does.
I kind of slacked off this year. I was doing more trigger pulling than camera shooting, but
I don't blame you.
it is what it is.
Yeah. If y'all are at NWTF, y'all be sure to stop by the banded booth. Rusty will be there. Did you say Friday and Saturday?
yes, sir.
Friday and Saturday. And Cloud will be where?
Seawee, Charleston.
You see him at Seawee.
Yeah.
Might see me
Friday,
there, I don't know.
Friday through Sunday.
He talked me
Be
into today. He
dragging
might
it.
talk me into that. We'll see.
Yeah, so that'll be a good one.
Follow these guys on social media. Rusty on Instagram, YouTube. You've been putting out some good YouTube videos too, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely. Hey, real quick. You've been doing that yourself?
All myself.
That's impressive.
Well, I think, dude, if I was smart and actually tech savvy, it would be good. If I have school as good as y'all, but yeah, that ain't nothing but iMovie and an iPhone and a special piece of property.
Exactly what that is.
So
Yeah, appreciate you guys watching. We're going to try to do this more often. Thanks for Rusty coming on again. Thanks for having me. See you on the next one. We'll let Rusty end this one. Go ahead and what do you got to say? The hashtag
game blouse.
peace.
Good.